Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of By the Numbers by Alphadraft. I'm your host Richard Lewis. With me as always every week and seemingly every event, although not recently I suppose, it is Duncan Thorin Shields. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm all right. Just chilling out in England, trying to get my life together again. I'm not really doing that second part. I just have to say something after that.
Yeah,
it's not. I'm not really trying to get my life together at all.
Implying that your life has been falling apart in some way.
Well, there are people behind the scenes in eSports who do their best, Rich, but I never let them get to me, you know.
Oh, yeah, but I mean, they can't. You're untouchable now. You're a god. You've ascended.
I have in some ways. Like, it has to be said. One of the things I think is so overrated in eSports is that phenomenon where fans will say like, oh yeah, well, you know, that person did something unacceptable a year or two ago, but he's really, you know, he's learned his lesson and he's improved a lot. Like, I don't know if you've actually been following my career, but all the stuff I did that people got outraged over about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, I still do all the same stuff, maybe even worse. But people just know me better now, so they don't mind as much. It just feels like they think I've gotten better. I haven't in any way, have I?
Yeah, no, this is the thing, actually. If anything, the whole sort of rise of Thorin proves that you actually don't really need to compromise anything. It's just about sort of weathering the storm. Yeah, you know, I don't want to get into a Rocky-style speech here about how it's not how hard you hit, it's how many times you call Reginald names, whatever. I could have been super edgy there. Didn't go for it. Not really feeling it myself, to be honest, mate. I'm so fucking ill. I don't even know why I'm doing a show. I've had like tonsillitis and a chest infection combined at the same time. Had it while I was in Romania when I was doing the minor, the European minor. Get back. I'm like, okay, surely now I'm going to be on the mend. And it's like my ass got jealous of all the action every other orifice was getting, and now I'm fucking glued to the toilet. It's fucking hideous.
Okay. Your ass has been known to get jealous, like.
It's unbelievable, mate. I'm dying here, and I know what Alphadraft are like. They're like, look, Richard, there's no Skrilla for Thorin if you don't do the show. So they full guilt trip me into doing it. So I should have had a day off. It's fucking terrible. Anyway, yeah. Well,
on the upside, though, Rich, we're back in CSGO, where there's only about 87% of people are mentally ill, not the full 100% in StarCraft 2.
Or any other scene, it seems. So yeah, I'm definitely enjoying it. Apparently Twitch is down, by the way.
Yeah, I tried to go to the link, but I couldn't get it to work.
So not all of this is for the VOD, which is nice. So we can definitely.
I think it's up now. I think
we can have a nice leisurely introduction, mate. I think we just keep going.
Yeah, it's up now. It's up now. It's still up.
Right, okay. So we can get back on.
I mean, admittedly, I have noticed, because sometimes I have to do that tweet while like it's going live.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do accidentally almost type in like alphadraft.com/Twitch, because obviously that's just foreseeing the future, Rich, which is when fantasy esports eventually overcomes all these problems in America and does become legalized. Eventually, Alphadraft will be so big it will buy Twitch, and Twitch will be a small subsidiary of Alphadraft that just shows the games so that Alphadraft can have contests for American. That's the future.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm definitely looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to the days when ESL literally has to employ me for majors, because Alphadraft actually also owns ESL and Valve, and they say, well, we want Thorin on there because he's an Alphadraft asset, you know. And then whoever it might be at ESL, I mean, I wouldn't speculate who it would be, but some guy who probably has like Russian heritage, but maybe lived in another country most of his life, will be like, well, I don't really know if that's the person we want involved. And they'll be like, don't know if we want you involved, mate. So.
I think at that point, Alphadraft could probably pay to have people killed.
I mean, listen, I'm not necessarily in favor of taking a life.
No,
but you know, maybe you've got to take a life to give a life.
Yeah,
it's not a system that the Red Cross agreed with when I proposed it, but yeah, I've got my own ways.
So getting back to what we were talking about at the top of the show, though, you're still, you are ascending into that untouchable part of esports. You know, when people get so big, they actually can't be got at. And you haven't really changed or compromised anything. You know, well, definitely not. Just on last week on the show, you were fucking making the same sort of jokes that caused all the brouhaha in the first place. You even made jokes about how AIDS was created, which reference game incredibly on point for anyone who went to school in the 80s.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That was the best part about it. It was a reference to something that isn't even what the current scientific thinking is on that topic. So it's so incredibly obscure. I don't even know how someone who was born in the last 15 years would find out about that. Like, it would be impossible.
I imagine it must have been preserved on some part of the internet, like lies about AIDS.
No, but I have noticed that phenomenon, because really what it is people, it's like a normal thing in life. People don't realize that their perception obviously is based on who they are. It's not just like some external thing that comes in and is the same at all times. I mean, I'm sure you've experienced this yourself on a lower level. There'll be a book or something or a movie that when you're young, maybe is like, that doesn't seem interesting, or maybe you even watch it, it's just not good. But then 10 years later, when you're an adult, you might watch it and go, this is a fantastic movie, but I didn't understand the nuance. I didn't know what they were referring to there. And so really, you're the thing that changed. So I think that's actually what happened in my career was, unfortunately, when I started to sort of brand myself as a personality or a persona or whatever, was early on, a lot of this stuff happened. And so at that point in time, people just didn't know me well enough. So they took like a very, maybe that was their first impression even. Maybe someone had never seen me before that, and that's the first impression they took. Whereas the whole point is, if they know all the rest of it, I think that at that point, they just understand like, oh, that's somebody who just does jokes. It's not as big a deal. It seems like that, at least to me.
Yeah, the word that comes up quite often, I find, is man-child.
It's a great term, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I read this a lot when I'm reading Reddit comments about myself on a proxy account, obviously, in my narcissistic way that I do. And I see it used for you and myself in sort of equal measure, that we're man-children, which, you know, no coincidence. I see this used a lot by social justice warrior types and radical feminists as well, sort of dismiss any kind of emotive male characters. But yeah, apparently you're a man-child.
Well, one of the key factors that they always associate with that, I've noticed, which is interesting, is that it usually doesn't actually seem like the crime you've committed is the worst thing you do. To commit the crime is one thing, but it's if you don't then apologize to them specifically in the way they want, that's what makes you the man-child. Because the notion that, and he hasn't even apologized, like that's the real crime. You'll never get over that one. They'll never stop bringing that up.
Yeah, and you know, it's like, I noticed that as well when I've been involved in drama and bullshit, right? The goalposts move and it ceases to become about the thing that you did. Like the Raheem incident. Obviously, there's no way I can bully a 35-year-old father of two. I mean, it just seem so, yes, I get it. He's small. Yes. He looks like he should be saying the plane, boss, the plane. That's a reference game that's incredibly on point.
Okay.
But you know, like I can't.
Why did you bring that up? Were you trying to fit a favorable picture? Now you've made it worse.
I know people can just Google it and maybe they'll realize that it's not all that bad. But anyway, he you know, how can I bully him? How can I bully him? All the things he's gone through, all of his collective experiences in life, and quickly people realized it was an absurd stance to take. And then it became, but you reacted badly to us accusing you of bullying him on Twitter. And then it was about Twitter. And then after Twitter, it was about, and then you went on the broadcast the next day and you were unrepentant and didn't apologize.
That's one of the things I find really weird about the current generation of people in terms of consuming media, is you'll see people who actually do seem like reasonable people. They don't seem like morons, right? Like they'll say something like, oh, I really love this person's work and I love them when they do events. But, you know, it's just, I despise their Twitter. And you just think, yeah, just unfollow, mate. Just like keep the parts you like. You've got that in the bank. You want to bank that? You go on with that no matter what. You got them on the events. You got the articles. Just unfollow the Twitter, mate. It sounds like you're not getting the most out of it, but it's like they feel like they have to follow that as well to then be able to judge you. I don't get that part of it.
I think what I love most of all about that though is like, okay, so there is nothing, right? As you say, Twitter is opt-in. Yeah, if you like what I tweet, follow me. If you don't. Yes, I will tweet my work out there. Occasionally, I might tweet my thoughts. You might not like my thoughts because they're my thoughts, not your thoughts. And occasionally thoughts and opinions may differ from person to person. I generally think that's a good thing. Not everyone subscribes to that philosophy. Evidently, the most retarded thing that anybody can do is tell another human being what to tweet. It blows my mind every time someone attempts to do that. And I get it quite a lot. Like, hey, Richard, love that tweet. That was a link to the article of yours that I read. But I don't get why you retweet people who are abusive to you. Well, because I want to and I can, and the mechanics of the platform allow me to do that. And then they'll go, well, if you didn't do that, I would enjoy following you more. I don't care, mate. Well, I might not follow you if you keep doing it. Okay, I'll block you then. Then you block them, and they go fucking ham. They spend days just talking about it. Expected more maturity from a esports journalist. I mean, which is a fucking... obviously, you should never expect maturity.
Yeah, that is good, isn't it? Yeah.
Like what I'm doing by definition is living in a state of arrested development, you dumb motherfucker. If I was a functional adult, would I be doing what I'm doing for a living? Obviously not. So, yeah, I expected more maturity from a man in his 30s who works in the video games industry. Are you fucking serious? Are you being real right now? So, yeah. But when they say that, I'm just like, yeah, come on. And to be honest, I'd love a good block. I know that sustains me. That really does. Like when you block somebody and you can still see them, you know that you've triggered them, and they just go so mad about it. Like, hey, everyone, look, he's blocked me. And everyone's like, yeah, no one cares, dude. Like, no, but look, he's blocking me. He's against censorship and he's blocking me. And it's like, fingers in my ears isn't a gag over your mouth, motherfucker.
Here's the funny thing. What's great is after that whole Destiny thing I had on that StarCraft show, people who were fans of his were trying to use his logic, right? So when some of them, by the way, didn't even follow me. So they don't follow me yet. They're tweeting at me all the time. So someone like that, I obviously have no qualms about blocking that guy because he just wasted everyone's time, right? So when I blocked some of those people, they tried to use Destiny's argument and go, safe space, you're censoring me. You are trying to create a safe space. And I just thought to myself, how far are we going to go with this? Remember, the whole point of a safe space is the notion that no opinions are allowed that could ever offend anyone. It's not a safe space if you're walking down the street with your mate talking to him and some guy just pops up next to you and starts just screaming in your face all the time. And you just go, can you get the fuck out of my face? He goes, all right, sorry. You need a safe space, do you? You're going to censor everything, are you? You're like, no, I'm trying to fucking live my life. You're ridiculous.
I just don't want a retarded prick.
You can even say all that shit, but just do it from over there, you know. Just don't do it right in my face all the time.
Yeah. I don't know, mate. It's a funny old game. But somehow I feel it's going to matter less and less for us, Duncan, in 2016.
It's like I said, Richard. Bullshit walks, skrill talks. That's all you need to remember, mate. That's the wisdom you need to know.
The wisdom of Thorin. When are you going to get your little book, The Wisdom of Thorin? I think the time is right. Like, I've been in talks about book deals for eSports. Yeah, like The Wisdom of Thorin. I think that would sell.
There'd be like a Mad Lib section. Blank is like Caesar, a character from... See, you can all the fun in the family. Anyone can play that game.
Blank people have an existential hole to fill. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it'd be pretty good.
Fill in whichever country you want.
Yeah. So anyway, I guess we should talk about some Counterstrike. I'll get the events out the way, I think. Okay. I'll do it the other way around. Usually I start with news, but there wasn't really a great deal to talk about. I was obviously at the PGL Regional Minor Championship for Europe. I had a pretty enjoyable time out there, actually. I thought it was quite funny that, we went into the event and everyone was like, oh, look at that desk with Yanko and Natu and Richard Lewis on it. Who the fuck would want to watch that? I'm going to mute the desk between each game and all of this shit, like all this negative stuff was on there. And then, of course, by the end, it goes the complete opposite way. One of the best desks I have ever seen. Come on, mate. You can say that it's okay. You can say, it's good. You can say it exceeded expectations. Not everything has to be the worst or the best. Like, it can just be good. It can just do the job. It definitely wasn't the best desk of all time. I'll say that. I was on the desk. You don't have to go to extremes. But it was enjoyable. When Yanko and Natu did a great job. And Yanko even got a Reddit thread out of it. So
that's really all that matters.
He was over the moon. Over the moon he was. But somewhere in there was Counterstrike being played. And there were a few storylines that sort of came up. None that would interest you, because I know you're a bit of an elitist, a little bit snobbish. about Counterstrike. But the two big ones, I guess, were HellRaisers winning it overall. Despite playing terribly throughout the tournament, it's got to be said. Nearly went out a bunch of times.
All the time, basically. Yeah,
yeah, all the time. Even against Penta, they didn't look convincing, which is fucking saying something. Penta are awful. But yeah, they did win it, and they looked okay in the final. So the big talking point and takeaway for HellRaisers was that Oscar was pretty fucking sick on LAN, and fitted in with the team really, really well. Sticho had a great performance in the final, but overall, Oscar was their MVP. So some thoughts about this. Are HellRaisers going to get back to any semblance of what they used to be with this lineup?
I actually think this lineup isn't that bad, actually. Like, the problem with HellRaisers is because they had the same core for so long, we do still think of it as being that core, whereas obviously in reality, they've only got 2 players from that, which is Angel and Kucha. So they haven't got Dosia, they haven't got any of those old players, they haven't got a Dren. So it is a different era of HellRaisers. And obviously, I kind of like the way they went, which is that they got a bunch of people who clearly have talent, but just were never going to be on teams because they're from Czech Republic, or I think one's from is one from Serbia? Is it Slovakia? I think a couple of them Serbia.
2 Slovakians and a Czech.
Yeah. So okay, but those were like reasonably good pickups when you consider like that they are better than the teams they've played for. And Oscar actually getting into a reasonably decent team is quite cool, because in 1.6, where we had almost no multinational teams, he was always known as someone who was good in Czech Republic, but they never had a team that was even vaguely good. So he was sort of trapped and he was never going to make it out. And obviously it's cool to see he's found some vehicle in CSGO. In terms of how HellRaisers will do, I do think with this lineup, they could certainly like flirt with a top 10 place. Like maybe they could have a good run and become like 10th best team. I don't think they're going to go further than that, though, I have to say. Like, unless someone else in the team gets like exceptionally good, like maybe the Zero guy suddenly plays fantastically, unless something like that happens, I don't think they're going to be a super duper team, but I do think they're decent.
I mean, what I thought was interesting was when we interviewed them after the event, they said they were like torn between who to pick up in the last spot. That, Oscar and Sticho were going to come in. Obviously, they had Kusha and Angel, but whoever they picked up in last place was going to determine whether they played in the European qualifier or the CIS qualifier.
I see, yeah.
So they were like...
In that case, it's even harder then, because obviously you'd actually... I mean, to be honest, I'd rather play in the CIS qualifier. I think you've got a better chance there.
Well, this is what they said. And they tried a few people and nothing had really clicked. And they had like 2 hours left before they had to decide. And sort of register for the minor one way or the other. And they had a game with Zero, and he came in, he played one game, and they were like, yeah, this works. Let's fucking do this. But it could have just as easily gone the other way, and they bring someone else in, and they're in the CIS region. I think based on this, I think they've made the right decision. I think Oscar was impressive. Sticho had some moments. Zero had like one map where he particularly stood out, but he's the youngest in the team. He's only like 17 or something. So yeah. I think they've got the tools there, but I don't know if they can break into the top 10. I think they've got some fundamental problems that aren't likely to go away. I think Kusha is one of those problems. Not a popular opinion, but he seems to make way too many mistakes. His decision making seems to be really off. And just as a team, collectively, their decision making process seems to be weighted in that, all the problems you associate with CIS teams, I mean,
that's the classic thing with HellRaisers. They always typified all the problems that you see with, even in matchmaking with Russian players, so like force buy all the time, don't play very smart, don't play well from behind, don't synergize well. So the thing the teams always had in HellRaisers is they always tend to get good aimers, so they have some skills, but they've never really had like the good team play. And so that's going to be the problem now when you've got even less stars relative to your era, because they used to be able to stack the lineup at least with a bunch of really good players.
So the team that they beat in the final was E-Frag, the Bulgarians. Yeah. Of course, they didn't have Dreamer there. This ongoing issue about Dreamer, which I think we've talked about it briefly on another show, but I'll bring it up again. Just for those who maybe haven't come across discussion about this before, Dreamer has a VAC ban.
Yep.
And the VAC ban was supposedly acquired after his account was hacked. And obviously we hear this one a lot from players when they get VAC'd. It's always oh, it was the first time I installed the cheats, or my account got hacked, or somebody logged into my account and did it for a joke, or it's a VAC ban, but it's not in this game, or whatever. There's a list of excuses. But with Dreamer, he's like, no, it's a CSGO VAC ban. My account was hacked, and he provided quite a compelling set of evidence to show that someone had indeed logged into his account and used this cheat at that time and had done so maliciously. Now, unfortunately, it's always been the philosophy of Valve, your account, your responsibility. And because of that prevailing notion, Dreamer is now effectively denied the opportunity to compete in any Valve-endorsed tournament, much the same way the match-fixing people are. So what are your thoughts about this? Is this worth having a specific special investigation, given that E-Frag could realistically be competing at Valve-endorsed tournaments for some time to come?
Yeah, I think this is a great example of where there needs to be some kind of like esports / community commission, and maybe it could just be a community commission that looks over like bans, etc. But obviously the big problem here isn't just that you've banned the account, it's that it affects the guy's esports career. So I want it to be like some sort of thing that this would be like the first thing that would be pushed up the pile, and you'd have to look at this first because obviously it's a pressing matter. And then you could decide the guy's career or not. Whereas at the moment, he's just left in some ridiculous scenario. Like I had seen some of the details of it. I haven't fully looked into it yet because I actually have a plan to do. Like, I'm going to look into it, and if I think it is compelling, I'll make a video on this topic, basically. But yeah, I agree. Something at very worst, even if he is banned, there needs to be something where Valve somehow come out through some official representation and say, he is banned, here's why we don't believe his story, and here's what the end result is. Because at the moment, it just looks incredibly capricious as to whether or not they actually look at your ban and figure all the shit out. Like there was some other player had an account stolen or something who like got unbanned, I think. I'm trying to think who it was. Let me think. Who could it be? Possibly like a German player. I'm not sure. I think there was some other player there who had something like that happen, and it was kind of fixed overnight, and it wasn't a big deal. But I mean, yeah.
I also seem to recall, didn't Kenny S get his account hacked and have some skins taken off his inventory? And
yeah, they got him all back.
And they got him all back, which seems
which
seems like a far less important use of your time.
I mean, listen, obviously this will sound edgy, but I'm not meaning it to be edgy. But I suspect that's because he's a very famous player. Whereas if you ask most Valve employees who Dreamer is, I bet most of them wouldn't even know he's a famous player. I mean, I won't bring up the fact that one's French and one's fucking Bulgarian or whatever. Like, I don't think that's the real issue. But I think in a way it's related because it's part of the reason why they're not as famous,
Yeah. And I look, this taps into what I've been saying for the longest period of time. And I've had talks with Valve about it, and they've said that, they're not really sure how it would work, or at least the Valve staff members I talked to said, we're not really sure how it would work. And that is, what we need, there has to be a league commissioner. There has to be somebody that officially communicates decisions from Valve to the community and to competitive leagues about, what happens if you take that Valve money. If you take the Valve money, we get to dictate these standards. These players are banned, and this is why. And that needs to be communicated privately and publicly, so there aren't all these questions. And Valve have always famously avoided doing this because they're like, why should we do it for a pro player if we're not going to do it for Joe Bloggs over there? Well, look, fuck Joe Bloggs. Joe Bloggs probably cheated. And do you know what? Whether he did or he didn't doesn't really matter. Joe Bloggs doesn't have a career. He's got a fucking Steam account. You can get another one of them for free. He pays $14.99. And if he was one of the few false fucking flags ever in the history of VAC, good for him, right? Be salty about it, but you'll be back playing. No one really gives a fuck, right? You probably did it. Truth. When a pro player does it, right, if they come out and lie about it, it's very important we know that they're lying, actually. Almost more than if it's the truth. Yeah. Because what they might get a chance with other leagues, other organizations, predicated on that lie. Teammates might stand by them, predicated on that lie. Journalists might go out and publicly bat for them, predicated on that lie. I think Valve has a responsibility to come out and dismiss those lies comprehensively. You don't have to give away too much. You don't have to say the hows, the mechanics of how you detected somebody. But you've got to say whether or not your internal evidence is absolutely compelling, and whether you're convinced, and at least show the public there has been some form of investigation done. And Valve won't do it because they believe it. There's an inequality. And again, I'll say it loud and proud. There should be an inequality between Joe Public and the pro players. That is the definition of what makes esports great. That these people do something that's exceptional and are worthy of some special and preferential treatment as a result of it.
Yeah. And plus, obviously, the problem for E-Frag specifically is Dreamer was arguably their best player. Like, he was one of the best players they had in the team. And so, I mean, they locked out that the Punisher guy did all right. Like, he certainly filled the shoes pretty well for someone who's coming in last minute, but it takes away one of their best players. Because the thing about, that's actually something that was interesting to me about this tournament, is that in the past, when the thing about what people need to know about the history of this team is when they were called G-Play, it's actually been a long time that they were famous for being this ridiculous online team. Like, there used to be teams from other continents who'd come to Europe for some scrims. And let's say another tournament's just about to start, so some of the European teams are traveling. They would play this G-Play team, and they'd be like, who the fuck are these guys? Like, they're just raping us completely. Like, they're wrecking us like 28-2 and stuff. And they would say, this is like the most online team I've ever seen. And then they went to their first lands. They went to the Star Series. They went to these other ones. And the thing we found out initially was the two that were like legit players on the team was Dreamer and Victor. Those were the two good players on LAN. The Spy Leader and Bubble guy, they were actually still online as fuck. Online, they were good, Bubble especially. And then on LAN, they were shit. And then the Nickel guy was just a bad player. What I found at this LAN was Bubble actually had like, this was like a breakout for him. He was good at this LAN. He actually really showed up. Maybe not having Dreamer there, he had to pull more of the weight or whatever. Maybe they switch up some of the roles, but he was good at this LAN actually. I have to say the Nickel guy's still pretty crap, but I mean, many teams have a player like that, so whatever.
But I mean, Bubble was really good. Spy Leader impressed me as well. You know, a fragging in-game leader. Yes, the quality of players they were going up against weren't amazing. They ran into some issues against HellRaisers when they looked like they were the best team at the tournament up until that point. But I still think they're a very, very good team. And would they have won it if Dreamer had been playing? Obviously, we can't know. I'd be inclined to lean towards yes.
I think they'd have had a good chance, certainly. I think one thing about this tournament that's interesting is, like you say, HellRaisers, it's not like they played great CS. They just played enough to win. And then E-Frag, obviously, they had back and forths with the teams in the playoffs. I actually think the team that was most hard done by at this tournament was the PixelFire team. Like, it looks to me like there's a whole bunch of ways where they're either playing in the final or they win this event. Like, they seem pretty decent, actually. Not like a great team, but they had some good individuals and they had a lot of close games. Yeah,
well, let's talk briefly about PixelFire. Bit of a weird mix. Obviously, you've got two Hungarians, a Swede, and two Danish players, and not particularly well-known Danish players at that. The real standout player, their MVP for me, was Barbar, who, of course, goes way back to 1.6, was one of those players who was playing in that sort of second-tier Swedish teams. Never quite got to play with the big boys. And it's strange, really, because I always thought he was a good player. I always thought he would be one of those players that might get picked up. Someone might take a chance on him. Didn't get to meet him, actually, until he was playing Counterstrike Source. And a lot of people said, oh, this guy's got an ego. Well, when he played Source, he was playing with fucking UK players, which I think we can all agree. If you've got an ego, you simply wouldn't do that to yourself. And he was playing for Fragmasters, or FM Toxic, I should say, rather. And, was a really, nice guy, down to earth, didn't seem to mind.
Well, maybe there's another way to see that, though, Rich. Maybe he has such a massive ego that he did that like prison yard shit, where when you get into prison, you find the toughest guy, you run up and shank him in the middle of the yard, and you say, which one of you can't sorts anymore? I'm the fucking daddy now. Maybe that's what he did to FM Toxic.
Maybe.
Rattlesnake was like, your gaff, mate, your gaff.
It's your gaff, mate. Yeah. It's all right, mate. But yeah, so they actually had a bit of a strange one. So they were in that CSGO 1 organization before. They left because a manager from CSGO 1 had gone rogue and had asked them, gone rogue, just like Jaguar. I'm sorry, Jaguar or whatever he was fucking called, over at ESEA, rogue employee.
I call him Oswald.
Yeah.
It's my name for him. Yeah.
Gone rogue, of course. And a manager had gone rogue and suggested to them, hey, do you want to throw a game? And they said, no, mate. Throwing games is bad. Think about Dazed and what happened to him. So we're saying no. And not only that, we're also leaving the org, mate. So they left. And then they joined PixelFire. They did this one event. Didn't make it to the final, but looked pretty good. Certainly punched above their weight. And now they've left PixelFire after this event and are now orgless again with another event round the corner. So what do you think's going on with this team? And is this going to be a team that's actually going to like break out and do something, or is this just another one of those weird mixed teams that kind of can punch above its weight a little bit, but actually it doesn't really have a future?
Yeah, the thing that's hardest to read is what would have gone on behind the scenes in terms of this org, because on one hand, I know a lot of teams. It reminds me a bit of what people in League of Legends do, where they pick up a challenger team and essentially they're not really having to invest much. It's only once the team makes it that they're going to invest a lot. And if not, you cut your losses, no big deal. So it feels like for a lot of these minors, I think some teams have like picked up a team, and then if they fail the minor, like maybe to them this is considered failing because they didn't qualify, obviously. So maybe now the org thinks, we were only going to sponsor them for that one event then because they didn't make it. Or maybe they did decently, and so they've left, and some org's going to pick them up. I mean, it seems probably, I have to say, probably more like the former, actually. I'd imagine the org was just like, well, we can't be bothered sponsoring you if you didn't get in the tournament. Will it actually do anything? Probably not. I think it's probably, like you said, it'll probably just be a mix that did well at this event, but once you take them out of the environment of that one specific event where things are working, probably wouldn't replicate this again. And this wasn't like a super sick field. So put them in a real tournament, this would be like a last place team. So I don't really think there's a whole lot of future for it beyond playing in like online competitions, second tier competitions.
All right. Well, while that was going on, we also had some fun down in Taipei.
Yep.
And again, I wasn't there. You weren't there because it was an ESL event, I'm guessing. Although, I don't know if that's true or not. But you weren't there, and our friends were there. I actually had some great messages from DDK at about 4 a.m.
Like what?
Well,
anything that you can repeat?
Let me just check, because Dan obviously
probably something like, "Oh, it's brilliant here, mate. Have you seen the women?" You were probably like, "Yeah, there's a lot of fit Chinese birds out there, mate."
All right, well,
and then he's just like, "Yeah, I was talking to one of them about Chairman Mao for 7 hours. She said she'd give me my Facebook if Date 2 goes well."
Well, okay, here we are then. So I got this at 4 a.m. Richard, it's a bit like a haiku.
Okay.
Richard, I saw a man die, then scored with some Asian chick. Is this eSports?
It's the turns it takes within that one like quasi sentence.
It's so good, man.
And the reflective nature.
Like I was riddled with fucking tonsillitis, man. I was riddled with fucking tonsillitis, like dying on my ass in bed at 4 a.m. Get that message, and I just couldn't stop laughing. Like it was just like,
was your answer just yes? This is the eSports dream.
My answer was, how did the man die?
Okay.
And apparently he said that they were just in a nightclub, and some guy next to them started like frothing, blood coming out his nose and mouth, having like a seizure or something, and apparently he was just sort of taken out. But Dan, not to be perturbed by a man dying in front of him, turned to some hot Asian honey and said, "Shall we get out of here?" And Dan, when he goes in, he goes in, of course.
Of course, yeah.
So
probably thought, there's a fella can't handle his crocodile. Not me on the other hand. By the way, that was I've actually found the worst ever image for esports. Imagine if through going to so many esports events, DDK actually was addicted to crocodile and he just withered away. That beautiful, incredibly small Lego head on the body of a transformer, like that just wilting away and being gnawed away by the terrors of crocodile addiction. That would be esports. That is esports.
Oh, don't, mate. I can't cope. Like,
I have to say, listen, I love DDK.
Got another show after this.
But if we ever had a fight club, he'd be the first person I'd fight, and I'd destroy something beautiful. He'd be my Jared Leto, Rich.
Fucking hell. But anyway,
I love him though. I love him.
We all love Dan.
Feckless idiot. It was just
we all love Dan. But yeah, I couldn't believe that message. So I was like, I feel like we missed out in a big way. We missed out on some fucking real parties that, like, you know, down in Taipei. So I'm a little bit upset we didn't go. If we only we could have built all those burned bridges just for this one event and then burn them all again, right? Then it would
obviously at the end. That's like, you have to realize that's the dream.
Yeah,
that you go on, but then at the end you turn around and then just walk out.
Yeah, get fucked.
Yeah, that's the dream, right?
Get fucked. But anyway, like, not really a lot to talk about in terms of the teams and stuff that were there. I think it was interesting. We're obviously starting to see an expanding interest in this region for Counterstrike, and you know the Asian teams are going to be coming, and we're going to see more of them. But obviously, this was included oceanic teams, so we had teams from New Zealand, teams from Australia as well. The big favorite for this was Renegades, obviously.
Well, after TyLoo got disqualified, yeah,
of course, yeah. And I was going to bring that up at the end, the disqualification. But God, no, fuck it. Since we're here, right. Obviously disqualified because one of their players had a VAC ban on another account that was somehow proven to be linked to be his. What do you make of that? I mean, that seems, now we're getting into some sort of tenuous area, you know. It's on another account, and I could probably name pros, which I won't do, but I could definitely point to some pros that have had other accounts, shall we say.
My biggest problem with that whole area is, if you asked me just on the surface, should someone with a VAC ban be allowed to compete? I would say, like all the other issues, like there should be a set line of rules, like you are banned for this amount of time and then you get unbanned, and there's a whole process in place. But where it gets really murky is what you're saying, which is, how is it that you're allowed to cheat only if it's after starting now? After this period, everyone is banned. What about all those pros who used to cheat before and even admit? I don't know that exists, so that doesn't count. Like, come on, man. Like, that's the problem, you know. It's like, by the logic of this, they should literally go and check the history of all accounts ever associated with any pro who's ever competed in a major, and if you find any of them have been banned, they're banned for life. That's the logic that Valve has instituted. I don't want that logic. I think that's terrible logic. But by their own logic, they should do it. So if you ever, even if it's shocks, they should have to be banned, I'm afraid. That's their logic. That's the only way to be consistent, because this is, I think we're talking about over a year ago or something.
Yeah, but I mean, on top of that, then it's like, okay, well, you know, we don't include any other previous version of Counter-Strike either. So that's all right, apparently. And then, you know, there was some freaky deaky shit going on back when the game first came out in 2012. You know, there's players that have accounts from back in those days, which I'm pretty sure it wouldn't, you know, people could find them. What would happen, for example, I don't know, let's say a player on a top team that's won a few events, maybe even goes on to win a major, right? Okay. What happens if we find an old account that he used to use and Valve, like back in 2012, and it's got a VAC ban on it, and they abandoned it pretty quick, and it was like just an account that they just used to, I don't know, pug on and cheat a little bit on the side just for the
I'll give you an example. Okay, so I'll purposely pick someone that I'm fairly sure hasn't ever cheated.
Okay,
so let's imagine tomorrow all that was revealed was that someone had found that in, let's say, January 2013, NBK had a secondary account that for some reason got VAC banned. And for all we know, maybe it wasn't even in Counter-Strike Source, Counter-Strike Global Offensive. Maybe it was in Team Fortress 2. And for whatever reason, that account cheated into photo. So someone incredibly well-liked, has won multiple majors, very long history in the game, blah, 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 all the rest of it, incredibly high profile, makes a lot of money right now. Would Valve look into it and then instantly ban him for? I don't think so. Like, I suspect there's a bit of fuckery going on here where you notice that the people who get fucked by these bans the hardest tend to be less well-known players who, especially if you're from countries that aren't like very prominent, you have almost no chance there, because obviously you have no court of appeal. How the fuck does a guy from China contact Valve and explain like a situation? And I don't think they even look into that case, mate. Forget the Dreamer one. I think on the Chinese one, they don't even look into it.
Well, someone linked me to like a YouTube video. Apparently, he got VAC banned while competing in a qualifier. Okay. Which obviously...
That's also more serious, obviously, than just fucking around and getting banned from a public.
And it was on October 10th, 2013.
Okay.
So there's even a set date for it and stuff. So I'm guessing in terms of finding the evidence. Yeah. But then again, it makes you wonder why hasn't anybody, like, why hasn't anybody raised that before the fucking tournament starts? Why hasn't anyone on the team raised that? Why hasn't management at TyLoo raised that? Like,
what's the other thing? If there was some kind of like reasonable commission you could go to, then what this guy would have done, let's say the commission only would have started like, let's say 2015, because okay, fair enough, the esports aspect side of CSGO wasn't massive then. If someone like this knows that you get banned, they might even go to the commission and say, listen, I have got this VAC ban in the past. It was 2 years ago. Like, I haven't tried to hide it, but technically I haven't served the punishment. So if I'm going to serve the punishment, can we get it like all done now? And I'll serve my punishment for a year now, and then I come back after a year and I can play again. Like, it might even help the scene in this sense, because think of it the other way. What people aren't considering that's so crazy, Rich, is imagine TyLoo plays this event. And the way Renegades played, I think TyLoo would have won this event. So TyLoo wins the event. Let's say they even go to the major. At the major, they get out of groups. Oh my God, the greatest result ever for Asian Counterstrike CSGO. They get out of the groups. Then someone brings this up. And they say, wait a minute, a player who's just got into the playoffs of the major actually has a VAC ban on it. What the fuck would Valve do then?
Yeah.
It would even be in their benefit to have a system where, in theory, you could get this stuff out the way.
Yeah. And I agree. I think this is like one of those things where it's like there needs to be somebody that's communicating this stuff and saying, and keeping a record of this stuff, actually caring about, the competitive scene, curating the bans, who are the cheaters, what's it for? And here's where I'm probably going to say something deeply controversial that's going to upset everyone in the scene. But I'm kind of through giving a fuck about that, right? I don't know how you feel about this, but the idea that somebody who gets caught cheating, like again, this idea of these remorseless lifetime bans with no room to appeal, I don't know how I feel about that. I think actually that seems a little bit ridiculous. It's not in line with any other sport that I'm aware of. For example, if you're a professional footballer and let's say the equivalent of cheating, I guess, would be performance-enhancing drugs.
Okay.
Or you're an athlete, you're a sprinter, and you've been caught full of fucking nandrolone, right? You don't get banned for life. You do 2 years, 4 years.
In the UFC, where in theory a performance-enhancing drug is even more dangerous, because you could obviously use that to have an enhanced performance and possibly almost kill someone, the standard's a year ban.
Yeah.
Think about how much more significant that is. Because the notion there is when we're fighting in weight classes, if I can use this enhancing drug or whatever, I might be stronger than you at your weight. So already you can see the advantage you could gain there. And yet that's only a ban on the first offense as far as I'm aware. And it can be as little as 6 months, depending on the circumstances. The biggest problem for me, this is the blind spot I think people haven't understood yet, is it's one thing if the player like this guy, it was already some sort of pro, used it in some sort of pro match to gain an advantage. That's one thing. That's actually quite egregious, I have to admit. So that one I'd give a harsh ban to, maybe a year, 2 years.
Yeah. The
problem I have, which I think really people themselves aren't having any compassion for, is imagine this. A 15-year-old kid in 2012 goes and uses a cheat on a stupid public server that has no competitive mod. Maybe it's not even CSGO normal play. Maybe it's some stupid mod like Jeepathon we used to have in 1.6 where you drive a fucking Jeep and you can shoot people. Maybe it's that. He uses a cheat because he's an idiot because he's 15. Problem is, that's in 2012. In 2016, he's now 19. He's now become a pro. He has incredible talent, but now that guy can never play for the rest of his life in Counterstrike because of a mistake he made when he was 15. And you know what people will say to that, Rich? Because this is what a shower of cunts the fans are at CSGO. They'll say, Well, don't ever cheat if you want to ever be a pro. Great, brilliant. Cheers, mate. Yeah. I guess we'll just say that to everyone, shall we? Don't ever steal anything from a shop, otherwise you deserve to have your hands cut off. Brilliant. Yeah, thanks. And now we've solved the problems in Saudi Arabia. Great, brilliant.
It's like the idea as well, like, hey, 15-year-old kid who can't even conceive of being a pro right now and has just discovered the game for fun and is taking their first tentative steps that we would all take if any of us at any point wanted to become a pro. Yeah. Right? Don't cheat in case you do think this might actually. No one does that.
Especially when you're 15. Come on, man. Yeah. When you're 15, if you're having a wank and you hear someone walking up the stairs, you just think, shit, I've done all this is going to turn out. You don't even stop. You just go, fuck. Oh, I hope this goes well. Better be quick. Shit. I was just reading a book.
Jesus Christ. I actually used to stop, dude. I think you're way too edgy for me.
Thrill taking. Even back then. I was
even back then.
If you are offended, then fuck you. Get out of my room.
That's like that scene from that. What's it? We need to talk about Kevin or whatever with the psycho kid. Have you seen that one? Oh, you should watch it. Yeah, his mum. Yeah, his mum walks in. He just doesn't even break stride. No fucks given. Okay, turns out he's a psychopath who shoots up a school for him. Oh,
come on, why did I have to? Well, we already knew that because I'm a gamer. So, I mean, listen, Rich. I got over my Adderall addiction eventually. I stopped planning and being trained how to shoot up schools. I finished school now, so that's over.
Good, good.
But I am still a massive misogynist.
Yeah, still a massive misogynist. and of course, inadvertently recruits for ISIS with your Twitter. So that's the other thing they say about us, probably. So basically, for VAC bans, what would you do? What 2 years?
To me, obviously it depends. Yeah, like was it like this criteria I set out there is kind of how I'd figure it out. Like what offense was it? Are you already a pro? If you're already a pro, it should carry more offense. You know, what the circumstances was it? Are you a pro, but it was in a public match? Okay, that's not as bad as if you're a pro, but it's in a fucking qualifier for a tournament. You know, these are I'd have a grading like that. And if you're at the highest grading, you know what? Eventually, if you've done enough shit, maybe it would be life ban. Eventually, I think that'd have to be pretty hardcore though. To me, a life ban is like you did it 2 times, you were using it in actual matches, maybe even the qualifier for a LAN. That's like where you're getting really egregious. Otherwise, I'd just say like 1 year ban, first offense, 2 year if you've done something ridiculous, 3 year. If you go beyond like 2 or 3 at that point, okay, I'm fine at that point if you give them a lifetime ban, but you can't just whip lifetime bans out of nowhere, in my opinion. I mean, you can, because as usual, unfortunately, what makes esports a dog shit actual sport is that the fucking person who invented the ball owns the whole game and every possible concept of how the game can be played. So they can just be a totalitarian dick and just make all the rules and be like, that's my thing, I own it all. It's like, well, that's not really very good when we've built a whole industry around it. But unfortunately, we have no way around that. So we have to appeal to the person who owns the ball in that sense and try and get them to be reasonable, which is what we're trying to do with Valve.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and I also think whether or not you could, like, here's the thing, in the current system, right, there is no benefit to admitting what you did. You might win a few brownie points in the court of public opinion, but you're better off lying and lying and lying for as long as you can. Take the truth to your grave if possible. Whereas actually, if we had a system where it's like, look, if you cheated, obviously we're going to look into it. We're going to find the fucking evidence anyway. But if you come clean, we'll take that into consideration and blah, blah, blah. ESL.
I've got something for you, Rich. I've got something for you. You ready for a theory? Here's a good one. Let's go full US government and actually appeal to the darkest aspects of people's nature. Let's even catch cheaters who don't want to come forwards. If you cheat and you know someone in your team cheats, if you come forward and dob both of you in, then you only get the 6-month ban.
Right.
And we ban your teammate. So essentially, you can sort of get some kind of immunity for turning yourself and someone else in. It's like the drug business. See,
I like it.
I did there? I'm getting more cheaters out of the woodwork.
I've said as well, though, right? Like, because let's be real, right? There's like obviously some pros. I don't want to go full Lycan here. Right. I don't want to go full Lycan here. I'll never go full Lycan. Right. But if obviously at some point in the history of CSGO, a pro has cheated.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. So what Valve should do is
flush them out. Flush them all out.
Edgy. What they should do is they should fucking put forward a bounty and of X amount.
Not the fucking chocolate bar.
No, reference game on point. not a Turkish delight neither, right? They put out a fucking bounty of X amount of money and say, if you've coded a cheat and can prove demonstrably and inarguably that you've sold to a pro, you get $250,000. Same amount of money as the prize fund for a major.
Yeah.
Do you think pros are buying cheats then?
Certainly make it harder, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah. There's put it this way: the people who I know about how these cheats get sold, the private fucking cheats. Yeah, you make a bit of money off them. You don't make that much. You know, like it's not like retirement stuff. It's just money they make on the side. You know, it can be lucrative. It's more lucrative if you've got like a sort of limited public cheat in the sense, you know, you need a client to log in. There's an update. You pay a subscription fee. You can make money on that. You know, and even then you should realistically still limit how many users are using it and stuff. But, you know, the actual privately coded cheats that are made for one fucking user, maybe like a handful at any given time, I'm pretty sure $250,000 would be way more tempting. You get a rat them out, no one cares. No one thinks the cheat code is the bad guy in that instance, do they?
Here's a problem as well, Rich, which is something people in gaming do not want to acknowledge.
Yeah.
So, okay, we can make this a problem because it's esports. So Valve can pursue people who cheat. And obviously within Valve's world, that is a bad thing to do, etc. Unless they change the actual law, I mean, you know, there's nothing morally wrong about using a cheat in a public server in a game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not even against the law.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a piece of software that you get that helps you win in the game or do something else in the game or whatever. It's not even actually something. It's not. People make out as though everyone takes it for granted. It's the worst thing you could do. No, it's just really annoying. Like, I've never understood why people had such mad vitriol anyway. My aim is I just want to have as few of them as possible, ideally. I don't think it's like some sin where we need the fucking Inquisition to come in like, how dare you ever use a cheat? That shows you are a terrible person. Like, get over yourself, mate.
Yeah. I mean, like, here's the thing. Like, you know, I make no bones about it. I used a bunch of cheats back in Source. I used to regularly get them, and you know, I wanted to see what was out there. I was the guy, you know, because of that relationship I had with cheat coders and stuff. I was the guy that blew the lid off a LAN coded cheat, vent.exe. Okay. I put it out there in public. I wrote about it. I was the first person to talk about it publicly because there was this other prescribed piece of knowledge, which was, oh, don't talk about it. It just draws attention to it. Yeah, that's what you want to do. And then Valve have to fix it. If everyone's doing it, it gets fixed that day. You know, it's not even up for debate. So that's what I did with vent.exe. I fucking basically, I got it, used it, learned about how it did. Then I wrote about it. I sent my copy of the cheat to all the major cheat coders so they can incorporate it into their database. Pretty sure a copy went to Valve as well. And then everyone was coming to me and going, "Oh, can I get that super private hack off you?" And I was like, "Yeah, fuck it. You'll be vacked." Like, telling them as I was giving it over to them, if you use this though, trust me, Valve are going to add it to the database. You'll probably be getting back to them. Now, here's the hilarious part. This private cheat had been private and had been used in private throughout the Benelux scene for something like 9 to 12 months.
Wait a minute. You're telling me there was people in Belgium and Netherlands cheating in CS Source?
Yeah, I know.
I do not believe this.
Who
Scandalous charges. Next, you'll be telling me a fella from Germany probably installed cheats as well.
It's all true, mate.
All true.
All true. So you know, think about it. Like, if I don't get a copy of it and I don't write that article about it, motherfuckers are still using it.
Motherfuckers forgot about vent.exe.
Yeah, and people were still fucking. And this is the mad part as well. I remember people at the time ripping on me, going, "Can't believe you've drawn attention to that. Can't believe you've like highlighted." I'm like, I've just got it stopped, haven't I? I'm the hero in this story. My fucking my editors pulled me to one side over that article. It was the single most commented on article in the history of CAD-Reds. So much so that it had so many pages that actually broke the website temporarily. And they were saying, perhaps you shouldn't be writing about cheats in your column. I'm like, well, I think I've done a good thing here. And they're like, we're coming under a lot of criticism, you know, from leagues. Pretty sure ESL were in there as well, probably.
Of course.
Of course.
even back then.
You used to have my bosses on speed dial back then, mate. Yeah, I'll fucking believe it. Ralph was never shy of picking up the phone. Richard's been writing articles saying that we owe everyone money. It's all true, but can we make him stop? Probably, yeah.
It's okay,
Maybe.
Rich. The next phase of your career will be called Wrecking Ralph, actually, it'll be called. Be the story of how basically, this chapter of our lives is called The Hens Come Home to Roost. Or chickens. I don't know what the fucking phraseology is. I'm not all about farming animals.
Yeah, just masturbating in risky situations.
I mean, listen, ever since Mr. MPEG, I've been, that was enough for me. That was enough for me. Reference game, incredibly on point.
Pretty good. So back to the VAC ban thing.
Someone's gonna look that up,
Probably. I tried to move past it, mate. I just, but yeah. So getting back to the VAC ban thing, I think they need to again just look at what we want to do. What kind of scene do we want to cultivate? Do we want one mistake of a young player to potentially be the end of a career? Is that what we want? Do we want players that have like moments of weakness and make stupid decisions? Do we want it to haunt them for the rest of their professional career? There is no comeback, there is no redemption trail. Is that what we're saying? And it follows that if we are saying that, then I mean, fuck, like we're making things incredibly difficult for ourselves. One of the things I think ESL always did right was if you got caught cheating in ESL, if you came clean and admitted, you only got a 2-year ban as opposed to a permanent one. And you were doing I can't remember what the fuck it was called, but it was like the cheater rehabilitation program. That was it.
Oh, this reminds me of something as well, Rich. That's another really big problem I have in this grey area of cheating, which is, okay, so Simple just got unbanned from ESL.
Yep.
So he cheated, and a more advanced anti-cheat than VAC caught him, but he can now compete again, which I think is fine, by the way. And I think the way that ESL handled it was pretty good. Like, you evade the ban, you get more time on it. I think that's all great, but he can now compete. And yet anyone who got a VAC ban, a much worse anti-cheat, cannot compete. And that doesn't make any sense. They still cheated.
Yeah, but I mean, this is the thing. Obviously, Valve have a lot of faith in their own software, and yeah, everyone has faith in their software. I mean, I was watching Zelos play this weekend. He was banned by ESL, of course. Yep. He's maintained his innocence the entire time, and you remember that was part of that team, which obviously had like JW Schneider, people like that in.
Yep.
And they were being accused of cheating by very popular players. Virtus Pro being one of them, and they were, and I think ESL and a lot of people were fucking under a lot of pressure to do something about it. I mean, I even remember writing an article about it. I think it was called Epsilon Too Legit Too LAN. Because
do you want an edgy theory though? I'll combine all the edge theories you could ever get into one, Rich. Here's the twist. So they were cheating, but at the same time, that was VP's cover to throw the game. Oh, you see, that was good, right? That was good, yeah.
Delicious.
A lot of influence, a lot of references, a lot of edge.
But I mean, like I wrote saying, look at these players, how laughable it is, the things they're doing online. They've never been to a LAN. They always find excuses not to go. Blah blah blah. And like it turns out that some of these players are fucking absolutely shit hot amazing.
Yeah.
So what the fuck do I know, right? But there's always been that team in every version of Counterstrike. Every year you get that one team that are fucking amazing online, never go to LAN, right? Like usually play for some shit organization as well.
Yeah.
Right? Like just, never go to LAN. So
to be fair, Epsilon's a pretty shit organization.
Just fun. Oh, I mean, it didn't have to be Epsilon. It could be any shit organization. Take your pick. Plenty of them out there. But I'm saying, like fucking, I think ESL were under pressure. I don't think any software caught Zelos. Or it would stand to reason why wouldn't it catch any of the others,
No, actually, I think for that one, they didn't even say it was software. I believe on that one, they just used the eye test. I believe they just had admins who looked at the demo and said, yeah, he's cheating. Which, by the way, unfortunately, even though on one level, if it was a real expert as if it was a amazingly knowledgeable pro player, I would in some ways trust that over an anti-cheat more. At the same time, whenever you add a human element, you can obviously have mad corruption. Like, well, these pro players are telling me to ban this guy. I guess that did look a little bit dodgy. I'll ban him.
Yeah. But I mean, it makes you wonder, doesn't it, right? What actually happened? I'm looking at it here just to catch up.
Some new segment, people, called ESL bans that make you go,
All right. Reference came incredibly helpful. How to, isn't it?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was how to. Yeah. Good old Fred Dinage. Miss him.
You'd be Fred Dinage. I'd be like a young, whatever, what was his name?
Neil.
Was it Neil?
Neil Buchanan, was it? The one who
he was on it for a while, I think.
Yeah.
I was thinking of the other guy, the younger one. Who was that?
I don't even know. Pat Sharp.
I don't believe it was him, but okay.
You can be Pat Sharp, mate. Hey, look on the bright side. You get to nail those two fucking twins every night, don't you? Melanie and Michaela, or whatever the name was.
Oh, listen, mate. If there's
if
there's fucking Jimmy Savile, God only knows what he was doing to them. All I'm saying is he was fucking reaming them out. Put it this way, when I say he went down the pink slide every night, I don't mean one of the areas of the fun house. And I don't imagine it was a very fun house for them, Rich. I imagine it was just oppressive sexual harassment on a daily basis. You know what I say?
The BBC.
Have a reunion, lock the doors, and burn it to the ground. That's the only way. It's the only way to put just to end it, basically.
Please do. But yeah, so basically, yeah, I'm reading a statement here from Zelos, and he was like, they had an anti-cheating team go through my demos. So I guess that means it was actually the eye test, which is even more worrying, right?
Yeah. Because, I mean, listen, there's people where I've had this happen before. The same scenario you're describing. There was people where part of the reason why I thought they were cheating when I watched their online games is because it was about 6 months before they became the next god tier LAN player. And so the problem is it's so rare that ever happens that your brain does say, come on, man, how can you be doing things here that even an amazing player like, for example, MBK, MBK couldn't do that, man. How are you doing that online? That must be cheats. But then you find out, oh, actually 6 months later, he's better than MBK. He is Olaf Meister or something simple or whoever it might be. It turns out he actually is just a god. So unfortunately, that's where the eye test can fail. Yeah,
well, that was JW, right? I mean, that's the JW was in these teams.
Yep.
And then went on to be, for a period of time, the best player in the world. It's fucking ridiculous.
And then you have to add in the fact that, let's not forget also, that they also could be a JW type and be cheating.
Yeah, exactly.
That's also why it's even harder without actual detection.
So back to this IEM Taipei thing, which we started talking about, I don't know, like 30 minutes ago. Obviously, it's Renegades versus the MongolZ. Can I just point out, by the way, for another tangent, we're never going to finish talking about Taipei, but I saw a fucking tweet that blew my fucking mind, Duncan. It blew my mind. Okay. It blew my mind. It's not off my mind.
Was it about someone just saying like Mongs or something?
No. If only it were that simple, mate.
Because my dream is I would buy this team using my Skrilla from Alphadraft, and I would say I'm going to keep the same brand, same exact like logo, everything. All I need you to do is remove that last O and L, and they'd be like, "Well, seems okay to me." And I just be like, that's all I need, boys. Just can you please do that?
Get sponsored by Ricky Gervais.
Yeah, I'd say, listen. There's a lot of bongs out there playing CSGO.
So, like, here's the thing, right? It takes a lot to fucking blow. I sit on this show and I go, "Oh, this blew my mind." It didn't blow my mind. It really didn't. I'm just saying.
This really blew your mind.
This really blew my mind. Right?
Okay. What was
it? Somebody tweeted. I think it was Moses actually. Tweeted. I think it's pretty baller that the MongolZ have Genghis Khan on their jackets. To which Semphis replied, wouldn't that be like a German team having Hitler on their jackets or something like that?
I love Semphis, mate. I love him. I actually love him.
Duncan, help, please help me here. Because he wasn't joking.
No, but here's the problem. On one level, I know
the problem's the tweet.
Like, obviously, because here's the problem. It does go deeper than that. Like, it's true. Genghis Khan didn't kill 6 million Jews. I mean, I realize that's the real sin, that he was just killing other people aside from Jews. So the media won't allow you to. You might have gone too far with that. Or it might have to shut the show off already.
Yeah.
But here's the problem. He did supposedly used to do mad shit. Like supposedly he sent out a rumor when he was going through areas to different villages that if you just surrendered to him, he would be merciful. And if you surrendered, he actually just went in and still wrecked you like 10 times harder, as if to show everyone else, like, I'll fuck you up no matter what. Like, so he was a pretty ruthless guy.
Yeah, but right. I think we're missing the point here. I think the point is this: that I don't know. Name any dictator from this period of our lives, recent living memory, and take their atrocities.
Yeah, it's true. This is a while ago. I mean, Genghis Khan was what, like 700 years ago or something.
Look, right? Just imagine what in 2,000 years will people care as much about these things, or will it just be another anecdote in a history book that kids will learn about? And
yeah, to be fair, Genghis Khan was the 13th century. I don't believe there will be anyone triggered by what might have happened to him, as opposed to Adolf Hitler, famous mostly in his prime around the 40s, I believe. The late 30s, early 40s is when he was doing his best work.
The idea that anyone is going to come up to like one of the Mongols players and go, "That jacket's disrespectful. He killed my great. Yeah, it's not going to happen, is it? Whereas Hitler, he did kill someone's granddad, didn't he? Maybe not personally, but
not of our granddads, but someone's granddad.
Well,
Slash's granddad, maybe.
He had a good go. He had a good go at mine. My granddad was in the Navy in World War II, and fucking his boat sank. He had to swim to Turkey.
To Turkey? Fucking hell.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Rough, right?
Yeah.
So, and sure, he had some interesting views about the people he met when he was there,
But he did fuck this one local woman. No. And eventually she had a son, and then he had a son, and that child was Antares.
No. None of these things are true.
Fair enough.
But point being, you know, like I can understand someone getting triggered by Hitler.
Triggered by Hitler, a new show with Richard Lewis.
Stop making jokes about Hitler, right? Just for 5 minutes. Just the whole point of what I'm trying to say here is.
Yeah, I understand that someone could be triggered by Hitler, but not by Genghis Khan.
Yeah, exactly. Well, why? So how does someone not have the requisite levels of awareness, maybe Adderall usage, I don't know,
maybe
to not see the difference between a dictator that's been dead for 900 years or something against, like, you know, a fucking guy who was around 70 years ago or something. It's retarded, isn't it?
There's a problem with that. But it is Semphis. That was an edgy tweet.
I just couldn't believe it, mate. I just couldn't believe it.
Don't worry, he only plays for TSM now, so I know they'd never say anything culturally insensitive if they're on TSM.
Nah, that's true. For sure.
They're not human scum like that, and it deserves to be handed to the ends of the earth.
No, that unlike some people. Anyway, so back to this game. Right? So the Mongols, with their Genghis Khan jackets and all, have gone up against the Renegades, who on their jackets, I can't even think of any fucking Australian cultural icons. They've got Crocodile Dundee on theirs, probably. Oh. Fucking Paul Hogan, whatever he's fucking called. Maybe Rupert Murdoch.
Is Mel Gibson actually from Australia? Is that New Zealand?
Yeah, I think he is. Yeah, Mel Gibson's on the back there.
Let's give him Mel Gibson, because he is a drunk, a racist, and used to be good.
That's
Australian to me.
Could be the co-host of this show.
One day, maybe.
So, anyway, they played this game against the Mongols, right? Which, you know, they've got some okay players on there, but apparently it turns out they're better than okay, certainly when compared to the Renegades. They fucking wreck them. Now, over the course of this game, there was an incident which I don't think it made too much difference in the grand scheme of things.
It didn't.
Okay, but we'll talk about it anyway. The bomb got blown under a part of the map that you can't actually gain access to, and it cost Renegades a round.
Yep.
So do you have any thoughts about that? Like I say, I agree with you. I don't think it made any difference.
The problem is that I think at the time the score was 8-1 or 9-1, and they were getting wrecked. They did end up losing the map 16-2 anyway. And overall in this tournament, they lost 3 maps to the Mongols. So they didn't even win a map off Mongols. So I don't think it actually would have changed anything. Like, I don't think they would have won that map. They'll complain and say, oh, but the next round we had to do a force buy. Like, you were losing rounds of guns anyway, boys. I don't really know why this is like an excuse. So I don't think that was such a big deal. I think the bigger issue to me is they lost 3 maps in a row to the fucking Mongols. I mean, not in a literal row, but all 3 that they played against the Mongols, they lost.
Yeah. And
in fact, here's the part people don't know who only looked at the scores. The game they lost in the group on cash was like a 16-13, 16-12, something like that. So it looks on paper good. Well, in that game, they almost got wrecked. At one point in that game, they were down like 8-1, and then they were at like 5-15, and they actually did a massive comeback to even lose like that. So first of all, they were never going to win that game because it would have been overtime at worst. And basically, they could have gotten wrecked on 3 maps by the Mongols. So to me, this is a really embarrassing event for Renegades. Like, all I'm going to say is their video's coming up soon, mate. Their video's coming up soon.
So what's the problem with Renegades? Why do they keep losing to these weaker teams? Now, is it just as simple as they're not very good? Because I think it's weird that people can't, no one stays consistent to the reasons why they think Renegades are bad.
Sure.
It seems to change all the time. After this event, everyone was saying Havoc's got to go.
I mean, I've always thought that, but it certainly doesn't seem deniable at this point in time.
Before that, it was Sponge. Pretty sure before that, it was somebody else. You know, what are the problems, Dr. Thorin?
Okay, first and foremost, I have to say this. Like, I'm going to go really in depth in that video, but I won't go like super ham now. I'll give you like the basic, some general gist type things that I figured out. So when I looked at games that they won against good opposition and games that they got wrecked by good opposition, what tended to be the difference was purely the number of T rounds, pretty much. Like, they would win way less T rounds on the games they got wrecked, whereas the games they would win, they would just get like 2, 3, 4 times more T rounds. So their T side's obviously a problem. Then you look into the fact that it's not like they're amazing on CT side, though. So even on games they're winning, where they have a good T side, they usually need to have a pretty strong CT side as well to even get like close to winning the game. And actually, a lot of their wins, their opponent always gets double figures. So they're not that great a team in terms of overall play, but particularly T-side's problematic. Their map pool is a train wreck. Like, that's the one I'll go really in depth on in the video. And then the one thing that we can talk about most definitely now is the roster. Now, the roster is fucked completely because you look at the roster, here's a basic overview. JKS, pretty good player. Never going to be as good as he was at G-Finity, but pretty good player. Definitely keep him, build around him. Azza seems like a pretty good fragger. He's up there for me. JKS is clearly the best player. Azza, second best player. Get beyond them, and every single one of them has got massive problems. The Yam guy is someone who should be a good player up with those two, and they should be part of the firepower. But as far as I can tell, just isn't used in the right way, and is just a very lackluster AWPer. But as far as I can tell, it's partly because of how they use him in the team. Because beforehand, I think it was Immunity he was on before. He was actually a good fragger on that team. He was like the star of that team, and he was the one going off, and that's why they picked him up to make like a super team, you know. Once you get beyond those 3, by the way, just forget about it. Like, Havoc is terrible. And then Sponge, I only give him some leeway in as much as he's the in-game leader. So like I say, if the T-side's important, you probably need the in-game leader for that. So I'll give him some leeway there and give him kind of like the Sean Gares existence credit where as long as you're in-game leading decently, we let you off. We're not being a good fragger, but he's not a good player either. So for me, there's 2 players who are pretty bad in the team. And the biggest problem, mate, they've been in the core of the team the whole time. They're the oldest tenured players in the team, and they're the players in control of the team. There you go. That's your problem number 1, right? They're not going to cut themselves.
So what is it about Havoc that's so bad in your opinion?
He's just a terrible player. He's just not good in any respect. Like, I literally can't think of a single way that he's good at Counterstrike Global Offensive. And as far as I can tell, he's never been good at Counterstrike Global Offensive. He's just a player that people respected him because of Source and CS 1.6 and his long tenure. And in CSGO, it just doesn't work. And even worse, it seems to me like in this team, because they're in denial or whatever that he's a bad player, he seems to even take up space that he shouldn't. If you're going to be a bad player, be the support player. Just try and make some other excuses to why you're good. Like, oh, I helped this teammate out. Look at how I'm setting this YAM guy up to get his kills. Looks to me like sometimes he takes the AWP off the YAM guy. Sometimes he takes positions where, like, admittedly, he does entry flag some of the time. So fair enough on that level. Like, that's probably something you probably should be doing if you're not the good player. But he just seems to be a pretty bad player from what I've seen.
For me, it's not so much that he's like bad in the sense that he's irredeemably bad. Because I do recall him having some like good series, and it's more like I just don't know what he does in the team. That's the issue for me. It's like he doesn't have a role, you know. And I think you tweeted something out earlier today, some quote which was along the lines of sometimes the biggest struggle for any professional player is to find what role they're actually supposed to be doing in a team.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel that with Luke. Like I don't know what he's supposed to be.
Put it this way,
an entry fragger, you know?
Think about this, okay? I'll give you the analogy for exactly what you're saying as to how you could do it the right way. So you notice on this show, it almost never is the case that I've ever said anything like they should cut Neo, they should cut Taz from Virtus Pro. And the reason why I never say that is because even when Taz isn't the in-game leader, I actually do agree with something that Taz once told me, which is I do think that part of the reason why Pasha get to play the way that he did and why Bialy doesn't rage out every game completely is because these guys, Neo and Taz, have figured out that our job, these are the guys who are going to carry us over the line, okay? Our job is to facilitate them. Let's make Snacks as great as he can be. Let's make Bialy comfortable. Let's give Pasha the roles he wants. And whatever's left, let's do it. Let's me and you do it, Taz and Neo, the most veteran players. And we will never be the stars. We'll never even probably be good players. But if we can do that, then the rest of the superstar component will take over and we'll win these games in tournaments. Unfortunately, that's the one part. In fact, you've helped me identify. That's the part of Renegades that is the biggest failure, is that Sponge and Havoc aren't doing that. Like, for example, for the last few months of Renegades in 2015, from sort of like September to November, actually Sponge started doing a Pronax Sean Gares where it looked almost like he was like, well, it's not working, so fuck it, I'm fragging, and just started going off himself. So it feels to me like they must know there's some problems in the team, but it looks like to me like they haven't addressed any of them.
Is there any way back then, or are we going to see a roster change? I mean, I think we're probably going to see a roster change.
I think it has to be a roster change. If it was me, I would have made a roster change many months ago. So here's the nicest way to put it. You had your chance. You had the same roster since something like May. So you had the time when you were going to show that it worked and you were going to figure out the roles and you were going to swap things around. To me, there's nothing else is going to fix it. Like they're going to say, yeah, but we only just moved to America. I don't care, mate. Moving to America wasn't going to be the panacea that would cure this aspect. Moving to America can tweak a few things, give you a little bit of better practice. It'll improve things a bit. You're not just going to suddenly hit some peak of potential that you'd never hit before for 8-9 months that didn't exist somehow until you went to America. That's unrealistic to me. So I think it has to be a roster move.
Well, we'll see if that occurs. I think it would be disrespectful if we completely ignored the children of Genghis Khan, the Mongols.
Oh, certainly not. That's another factor as well. Here's the one thing, Rich. It's not that MongolZ is shit and that's just a joke. Like, wow, you lost a shit. It's embarrassing for Renegades because they should have beaten MongolZ. That's the fact. But, I mean, yeah, you go ahead if you're going to build up MongolZ now.
Well, I just wanted to say that I think they had a real good run through the tournament. I think, obviously, I agree with you. I think had TyLoo not been disqualified, I think we're probably talking more about them. But MongolZ did what they had to do. And it's like you say, they beat Renegades, who were meant to be the favorites for this tournament. They beat them on 3 maps. Then you go down the pecking order. Well, Chiefs have got to be right up there as well. You know, they've got some decent players from New Zealand. And they also had Top
I think
Gun.
one is from New Zealand. I think the rest are from Australia.
Oh, are they mainly Australian? I know. Is it Zeusy?
I think so.
Zeusy's
Yeah, Zeus is New Zealand.
Yeah, I think their best player is the New Zealand guy.
Yeah, he is.
And obviously they had Top Gun standing in for them, veteran,
formerly of the Vox Eminol team.
Yep, absolutely. And obviously was in the Sydney fucking underground back in CGS. So another player with like quite a storied history. But they beat Chiefs as well, the Mongols. So, I mean, again, that's like another step up. You know, Chiefs have beaten Renegades, I think, in some or it might have been immunity actually.
I think it was immunity they beat to get to this tournament. I'm not sure, something like that.
So they're obviously can mix it up a bit for the region, but I mean they fucking handled Renegades incredibly well. And only gave them 11 rounds, bomb bug notwithstanding, and I'm looking forward to seeing them and how they might perform. At another event. I mean, do you think these are are they going to be the first kind of breakout team from this region that's actually going to do damage against Europeans, Americans?
Here's the thing, breakout, probably not, because once we get to a qualifier or we get to a major, you're already getting good teams there. Here's the thing, if the Mongols went to a tournament, you'd probably need the right matchup first of all. So I'd need to think about if they played someone like Flipside, they could upset Flipside and that would be a good result. The difference is if they played someone like probably even Titan. I think Titan would beat them. Well, they're not Titan anymore. They're G2 now. But I think even G2 would beat them. So I think most teams would beat them. Part of the problem with the Mongols team is they are literally a two-man team. First of all, the best player, the machine gun, is by far the best player. And he's actually legit. Here's the one thing. Separate Mongols, separate the rest of the lineup. If you took this one player and you made him speak English, not made him like in a fucking tournament, if he could just speak English, I'd say recruit this guy to a European or NA team now. Because he's really good. He's legit good. And it seems like from the investigation I've been doing, he had a reputation before this event of being some sort of an onliner or a choker or something. So maybe that's the significant part. Maybe the reason we haven't heard of him is because now he's just gone ham at a real proper tournament to some degree. And before that, he was considered just maybe he cheats or something, So he's legit. He's very good. Then they've got a second player who's pretty good as well called Zilkenberg, who's a really old school player in their scene. He's pretty good. So the two of them have to carry the team. Beyond that, the rest of the players are very so-so or just bad. They've got a guy called Menace, who if you ever watch him play, the only way to describe this guy is he's like the fucking JW. He runs and sprays while strafing. He just jumps and shoots pistols in people's heads. None of the stuff he's doing is actually really high skilled shit. He's just doing annoying matchmaking stuff. But if you add that into two carries, that could have a big difference. And you got three players who are going ham. That's not going to happen at most tournaments. So for me, the machine gun guy is very good. I want to see him play again. That's the part that's interesting to me. Even if they lose, let's see how he does, because he seems to be really high volume fragger. Zilkenberg seems good. So maybe there's two players there. But beyond that, I don't think the rest of the team's that good. And the big problem, obviously, is part of how you surprise people is you have to have not played that many lands. They've only played a couple with this lineup, and you have to have not beaten anyone. Because as soon as you beat anyone, as Cloud9 found out, everyone gets your demos, and then they study them. And the big problem this team has is they're not they don't vary it up very much. They're just a hit them fast, T-side aggression, run in, let the machine gun guy do work team. So if you really had a smart team, for example, someone like Astralis, I think they would pick this team apart. They would know how to wreck this team and really humble them, and 16-4 them by having all the setups for them, having attacks that just destroy them. Also, the CT side was a little bit shaky. So there are some good points there. It's much better to have one sick player who really is legit, even if the team's not that good, because it's something to follow in the future. I want to see that guy play against Europeans.
Yeah, for real. I do. And, I only caught the final. I didn't watch some of the other teams, but I'm looking forward to going back through the VODs and watching some of these guys actually play, because you know me, I've been hyped for Asians coming into fucking CS for the longest period of time.
So is DDK apparently. Oh no, wait a second. He's been hyped for coming into Asians in CS. Oh, okay. I got the wording wrong. Sorry.
Yeah, he's very hyped when it happens. All right, fuck it. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna tell another DDK story.
Come on.
Right. So when Dan was out at Belarus, he was talking to some girl. I think it was on the plane back. And I got this from all of the crew that were out there. Obviously, I wasn't there, so apologies if I'm telling it wrong. But anyway, he was talking to this girl who was really, really into them. This hot, Belarusian woman was full on into DDK, and the small talk was going well, and they were laughing and they were joking. And then there was this little lull in the conversation, and a bit quiet. And Dan sort of panicked, and he went, "So, can I ask you, what's your policy on winter tires in Belarus?"
Yeah, I remember this story.
Yeah.
I remember this story, yeah.
And the woman's like, what? Doesn't really speak good English. And he said, well, because of the weather, it's there's a lot of snow, and do you have to have winter tires on your car?
I believe he kept asking if you have to have the chains on the...
that was it, basically, the winter tires. Yeah. So So
but the key point to make here for everyone, here's the key point of emphasis. She had really bad English. So you wouldn't be asking like such an incredibly detailed question, would you? And you wouldn't persist with it, would you?
No, but the best bit is just she got so infuriated with the line of questioning that even though she'd been into him, she just had to drop something like, I don't drive or something, just to like claw her way out of this. The dam was like, gotcha. Like, whose brain, right? Like, honestly, you're talking to some hot woman. At what point does fucking tire policy come out? Like, who thinks like, oh shit, it's not going well. I better go to some of the old faithful.
What's my canned material here, guys?
I've got it. Winter tires. Do you have to put the chains on your tires when it comes out and it's snowy? Do you have to do that?
Should I tell people this, Rich? Should I tell people just what the... Okay, here's the thing. We all love DDK.
We all
understand. That's why this stuff is so funny, because it's so we have affection for him for what a naive, innocent pleb he is. But here's the joke that we all say about DDK, okay? And he knows this. The joke about DDK and the way he talks to women is that you can't tell if he's trying to pick them up or if he's fishing, because it's all like, so what's your mother's maiden name, man? Where'd you go to school?
He is, man.
Can't tell if he's trying to pick them up or do cybercrime, basically.
You're killing me. Yeah, it is unbelievable, isn't it? What school did you go to? What was your first pet's name? It's unreal, isn't it? I fucking love that man. I missed him.
He's brilliant. He is.
I miss him, man. We need to get to an event with him real soon. Guy's a fucking legend. Oh, we love you, Dan. Sorry about this. Right, let's talk about some more Counterstrike. And then get the fuck out of here before I die. Like, Jesus Christ. Tell you what. I'll let you. I'm gonna get some water. I'm gonna die. But right. G2 signed the ex-Titan. Tell your public what you think about it, and then I'll be right back.
Yeah. Okay. I think it's a good pickup for G2, because the key thing about Titan that a lot of people missed is because of how late they became available, because the org was going to die. It basically meant that they were one of the only teams that was like at any point recently ranked in the top 10 who was available for essentially no buyout. Like there might have been something like a signing on fee or bonus, but essentially you didn't have to pay any actual buyout to get Titan. So I think in that sense, it's the best lineup that G2 could actually get.
I think they might have been able to. Well, look, I don't even know why G2 have decided to come in and pick up another CSGO lineup, honestly.
Well, I assume just because they have so much money available, they thought, fuck it, we'll take a flyer and maybe they're in the E-League or something. That was my suspicion.
Yeah, maybe. It seems really weird with like some of the offers that I know were available.
Do you want to hear something a little bit? Like, this isn't even edgy, Rich. It's just something that in the esports industry, people don't say for some unknown reason. If you've noticed the history of G2, and I followed them from League of Legends, because I originally followed it because I literally wanted to see will Ocelot make it back into LCS with his team, because that was the whole point of the team early on in LCS, was for the first few promotion tournaments, it was a team built around Ocelot, and he was going to make his own brand and get back in, like Expeke did. Unfortunately, he failed to while he was a player in the team. So what people don't realize is the other famous thing about G2 is that they constantly cycled players because players didn't want to play for them. Players would go to them, live in their house, have this... Early on, players would always be bigging it up. Oh, you live in this mansion. It's awesome. Ocelot's a great guy. Then they would all be gone after 3 weeks. People would come in as coaches. They'd be gone after a couple of months. They went through all these people, all these famous names that in League of Legends we know. Now in CSGO, almost the same shit. They've got the Kingwin team. That's changed a bunch of players. It feels like players almost jump at the chance to leave the team. The only players who seem to join the team in all games, CSGO and League of Legends, tend to be the players who are good, but they don't have many options right now, and that's the highest pay option. That just seems to be the only person who jumps to the team from my experience.
Well, what I will say is this. I think a large part of why the ex-Titan guys have ended up at G2 is predicated on Scream. Obviously, he was there, during the sort of Kingwin days. And I think maybe he sold it to them because I know, first off, there were other offers on the table, and there was some big organizations that were like wanting to pick them up, but like that have never had a CS team before, and this was going to be their flagship investment.
See, that's the bad part, Rich. I described it as a good pickup for G2, but the teams that I've heard of that were interested in Titan, I actually think Titan should have gone with some of them. Like, I think some of them had everything going for them. Like, admittedly, they weren't CSGO orgs. That's one downside. But they had more money. They had owners that are like seem like very cool people who are really into it and want to build this stuff up.
Yeah.
So I think it would have skirted some of the problems for the team. This is.
Yeah, I mean, I had people coming to me and saying, you know, can you put us in touch? And I know the amounts of money they have, so it could have been a very lucrative deal. I also. Due to some work I was doing out in America, I also know, and I certainly won't divulge this, it's not in the public interest, but I also know what the Titan guys were asking. And salary-wise, it's market value, I think. But some of the other conditions that they had in there were a little bit strange and might have been a bit off-putting. I don't know if they would have got them from G2. G2 almost feels like a last resort kind of thing. Like, or the safe option, you know? Like, to use one of your analogies, you're in a nightclub, it's 10 to 2. There's some really good-looking bird over in the corner, alone. You know, you can take a punt on that. Or, there's Chubby Chops over there that you've been with before. And, you know she's good for it. So you go home with her. And you don't even talk to that. That's probably the most misogynistic example I could have used, actually. We need to be careful about that.
Only in the social justice warrior world. Like the idea that you're supposed to pretend that you were equally attracted to the fat fuck who's ugly as shit and has no one with her. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's just weird, isn't it?
I didn't say that. I just said she was chubby. Chubby chops. That's all. Beggars can't be choosers, mate.
Yeah.
You know, it's not, again, you're being
too
binary, mate.
She chose crisps over having a lovely relationship with a nice man. So she made the choice, not you, Rich.
Oh, right. I see. Yeah, sorry, I was trying to think. Was there an analogy coming in? No. He literally means crisps. Right, I get it.
Yeah.
But anyway, so you know, I think that's what's happened here. I think basically G2, I think the ex-Titan guys they've gone home with the fat bird, basically. And that's fine. You know, like, I'm all right with that. Right? And
she sucks your dick.
Well,
gives you some of that pudding in the morning. Don't you sort it all for yourself, love? I need some as well. Listen, that's a full 6-person trifle. Surely we can be reasonable about this.
Why have you brought a 6-man trifle to the table, though? Like, where have you even got that?
Because that's how fat she is. She just thinks that's one portion.
Yeah, but why a trifle?
Because that's the most, to me, that's the most decadent food one could eat on their own, Rich. Not even in the confines of a birthday party.
Like, you can tell we're like fucking working class kids, where it's like
that's
trifle,
the dream right there.
Arctic roll. Like, this is like the decadent foods of the nouveau riche, the obese, you know, fucking.
Like, think of that, Rich. That's the only food I could imagine someone having. Like, man, that'd be inappropriate to have a trifle outside of a birthday party. Man, imagine that. Why not?
I just can't do it, mate. I couldn't even remember the word for bourgeois there, man. You
bourgeois, yeah.
That was what I wanted to say. Oh, right. So anyway, I think that's what they've done. I think they've basically gone for the safe option. And it's really weird because immediately people started bringing things up, like the $150,000 fee for Scream. And Scream tweeted, people don't know what they're talking about. Well,
no information, of course.
Yeah, but okay, so let's assess this.
Okay.
Where did the $150,000 fee come from? Does anyone know? I know. I was a journalist at the time. I reported on this. I did. Did
G2 themselves say it?
Well, and Titan as well. So if it was a lie, it was a lie that both organizations agreed upon because it made both of them look good.
Okay.
So obviously G2 are like, hey, look, we paid the most money ever for a player. Oh, sorry, Titan are like, we paid the most money ever for a player. G2 are like, haha, we've just sold a player for the most money ever.
Yeah.
So it's like, It's fucking, it's a ridiculous thing. You got, and then people are like, fancy believing our well-orchestrated and coordinated lies, you morons. Well, yeah, obviously we did. You all said it. It's retarded. So, yeah, but I don't know. I mean, put it this way, from what I can tell, I'm about to break a story after this, actually. I've just filed it with my editor. And you'll like this. But I don't know if they'll be involved with E-League. Because it looks like they're leaning more towards the ESL side of things.
Okay. Confirmed evil.
Well, so yeah, I'll just get your assessment overall, what you think they're going to do. I still think all the problems that they had as Titan are going to be there as G2. I think it's a step down for G2. I think organizationally, it's on a par for Titan. I don't think they're going to get any support from G2 that they couldn't have had from Titan. So I don't think they're going to achieve anything.
No, but here's the thing I have noticed about that team is that I thought in general that they were actually, for a lot of the time last year, they were actually a lot worse than they probably should have been. So I think to be around the 10th to 12th best team in the world is probably a reasonable remit for what they can do. They probably will do that. If they're in a league, they should do okay, but they won't be like a top team, obviously. The big thing for them is still the same thing it is before, which is, to me, here's the thing. There's actually light at the end of the tunnel for this team. So before, I always build it that the best part about being in Titan is you're waiting for the first person to get kicked from Envious. And then you pick them up and you got a better player. Yeah. There's now another end to that. So that's the team above you. Well, if you notice now, there's now more than one French team below. There's actually the team that's coming back that has MSX. There's a team that has Sixer, which is, I forget that might be Millennium, might it be?
Millennium, I think so.
Yeah. There's the LDLC white teams. Okay, right now, we don't know any of these players as being good. Like, that was the problem always with those LDLC white and blue or whatever. It's like, in theory, none of them were that good. Eventually, let's be real, one of them's eventually going to be good. At least one. And as soon as one's good, well, Envious has got all their players. So there you go. Titan will have a player at that point in time. Yeah. So for me, if you're Titan, all you want to be doing for the next few months is keep this core together and figure out which player you're going to kick. Is it going to be RPK because he's just too much of nothing? He's not much of this. He's not much of that. He's just okay. Is it going to be Smiths because it's his time and he has started to suck dick for a long time? Is it going to be Existence? Is he going to become the coach? Whatever the move is, eventually there's going to be another good French player. Let's get it. I mean, hey, eventually it might be Foxio if he's coming back. He might be an okay person to have. Who knows? I think eventually there will be options. Whereas obviously at the moment they are in some sort of mad purgatory where they've got 4 of the 5 members of a team that was really good, but when like 2 or 3 of them aren't very good anymore, and they're still like, but their names look good, and you're like, yeah, but in the server the game doesn't care what.
And all these people, well, I say all these people. There's one guy in the chat right now who's like talking about the LDLC white players, Buddy and Twanu. Well, I just watched them at the fucking minor, and they were dog shit, both of them. I don't throw, like, dog shit for me is the worst type of shit. Yeah. Right? Bullshit's bad. Horse shit's one down from bullshit, I think. The worst kind of shit is dog shit. And that's what they are.
You also have to consider, it's like when I gave you that example of the Henny example for Luminosity. I said, well, the problem is Fallen knows the Henny guy better than we did. He was a teammate of him. So if he's really good, you think Fallen would be on it before we'd pick it up. So the problem with the Toinu guy or whatever his name is that he's Belgian and he even played on the World Championship side with Existence at the tournament. So I'm pretty sure Existence would know if this guy was good. And if he was, I mean, what would he be waiting for at this point in time to pick him up? Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, like, I was watching that Twanu. There was this one bit on Cash. I can't remember who it was against. It was probably Penta, because Penta kept picking Cash even though they were losing it. And they ran out of main. They'd thrown a really dodgy smoke, which didn't cover any of main for some reason. And they just ran out dry. No flashes. Nothing going on. Twanu missed 5 AWP shots. Like, on target. It's like, it was whiff central. We were just like, what the fuck is this? Had we bailed out by his riflers, you know, from car to main, it was awful. And he was like one of the bottom fraggers consistently for LDLC White. Obviously, they only played 2 best of ones because they got fucking wrecked, you know. But like they got wrecked by a team that had never even been to a LAN individually or together before. People who just met, like on Face It, pugging together. And they beat LDLC White like 16-13. And that's a team that's been together like over a year. So, yeah, these players aren't ready to step up for Titan. Not for me. And they're never going to be, honestly. That shouldn't be happening. If you're that good, that shouldn't be happening to you. So, but anyway. So, yeah, I did have a follow-on point from that, and I fucking forgot it now. Hang on. Oh, shit. I knew I should have.
We're talking about G2 and Titan.
Oh, the story I was going to break.
Yeah. What was it about?
The story I was going to break. So, right, you'll enjoy this one. So, I got sent an email from an anonymous email account, which is always good when that happens.
Yep.
Usually a death threat. Today, it was an email from ESL, and it was addressed to multiple team owners. And it was about a meeting, a secret meeting that's being held in Cologne.
That's kind.
Yeah, obviously, do ESL do any public meetings? And it's a secret meeting that's being held in Cologne on the 10th and 11th of February. Right? Yep. And the email was from another team owner, and they said, we got sent this, but we weren't invited to the meeting. They must have sent it to us by accident in Joy.
Okay.
So I went through the mailing list, and I asked a few other people that were on that list, like, what's this meeting about? And they're like going, well, don't ask us. We weren't invited either. We don't know what this fucking meeting is. So they basically, apparently, they sent out this super secret email to
the wrong people.
Yeah. They used an old mailing list.
Classic.
So everyone else was just like, we don't really know what it's about. We don't have a clue. But obviously, Ocelot's going to be there.
With
Na'Vi were invited.
Always there. Weird how they're always in the mix, isn't it?
Fnatic. I think NIP were on the list as well. So interesting that I know these European people that were maybe a bit resistant to the whole E-League thing, having a meeting with ESL. All of it strange.
It's worth pointing out, no one on that list so far has shown any indication of being in E-League.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's other people on there. There was other people on the list as well. On the invitee list, there was Cloud9 were on there. I think Complexity were on there.
CLG, maybe?
Having a look. But yeah, basically, it was some of the usual suspects, and reached out to some people, and some people said, nope, meeting completely didn't know about that. We're not into it. And maybe they're lying, maybe they ain't. But certainly it looks like ESL have sent out this invitation in error to a group of people. So just in the interest of the VOD, because I haven't published the story yet, I'm literally waiting on that coming out tonight.
All right.
ESL issued a statement, and they said that they're beginning to meet with team owners and players frequently across leagues, our leagues and products. It's part of our 2016 effort to have more direct involvement in the planning of events, leagues, and tournaments from the people participating in them. With our industry booming, we expect communication and in-person meetings between leagues and teams to be a pretty regular occurrence. So it turns out there's nothing to worry about, Duncan.
The part I don't understand, though, is this isn't 1980 and you're not doing business with Mr. Yawazaki. So why do you have to meet in person? I mean, if you were just asking about the event details, an email will do for that. So the fact you have to meet in person tells me it's one of those things like nothing here leaves this room. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? Let's fuck this person over. Let's do this, do that, do this, that. That's just what my guess would be that.
Well, of course, when they had their meeting before,
maybe as a joke, just like discuss some kind of exclusivity that you obviously would never be in favor of, and that's just a barefaced lie, you know. So
when they had the meeting before, if people remember, for the first exclusivity league back before they announced the ESL ESEA Pro League, everyone had to sign NDAs, and then after I leaked it, everyone had to give over their phones
By the way, I'll tell you one thing I'm just going to say right now that triggers me. People in CSGO won't care. It's actually a League of Legends topic. You know, people to this day bring up that whole thing about people having to sign NDAs in League of Legends and Reddit and all that shit, right? I remember that guy who's a lawyer, Bryce Blum, who seems like a cool enough guy. Like, it seems like it doesn't seem like he has any hidden agenda, or at least he's doing a good job of hiding it if he is. But he made this comment which famously gave fuel to the idiots, which said, actually, it's quite standard practice to have an NDA. Right, I'm just going to tell you right now, think of all the stuff I've been involved in esports. Think of all the people I've talked to. Think of all the things I've been told in private. I have only signed, I think, one NDA in my entire life. But yeah, it's apparently a standard thing. Oh, sorry, mate. I must not have worked in esports for the last 15 years then. Tell me more about how esports is. And how
I think what it was more about was it's a standard thing in business. And again, I certainly,
sure, but
it might be in America.
If someone's doing that says there's something different about that from normal esports business to me, if you are getting that involved.
Put it this way, the only time I had to sign an NDA in esports that I can think of was when I was actually helping develop a mouse. Which I know, why would anyone want me to develop a mouse?
But that's just because Flusher really needed to be sure that you'd keep your mouth shut.
Yeah, it was. The cheat goes here. It's a modified version of Vent.exe. Don't worry.
By the way, thanks, Rich, for bringing that to my attention. I dug up the old coder. I found him in an old watch repair shop, and I said to him, "You got to come out of retirement, mate. I need one last job."
Yeah, and he said, as long as you don't play on that cache map. There's this one bit on cache where it'll lock on through a wall, but as long as you don't play on cache.
And I said, fuck the police, as I threw him a tiny little bag of shekels, like out of an old play or something.
And the next thing I knew, I'd won all the majors. So, no, but in reality, back to reality. It was, the whole... I know I don't know what to make of sort of any clandestine meetings or whatever at this point. All I know is that in previous instances, ESL having private meetings with teams hasn't been a good thing. I guess I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt at this point. I don't think anything they do is going to stop E-League from happening. I don't think anything they're going to do is going to stop teams from wanting to be on TV and wanting to compete. I think a lot of the teams that have maybe tried to hold out for some sort of a deal might want to change their mind later on down the road. But equally as well, it's not like ESL, ESEA Pro League's a bad league. You know, it's pretty good, right? So
yeah, it's pretty good.
So I think it'll all come out in the wash. But I just thought it was amusing that here we go again, you know. And Ocelot being in there, of course. Enjoyed that. Definitely enjoyed that. So, one other story I wanted to talk to you about, and then we can get out of here before my voice finally caves in and I die. Have you been following this Planetkey drama at all?
I did see that the team who played them just made some comment like along the lines of like, if we'd known that, we would never play them ever again or something. And then when I looked at the match results, there's a point in the game where the Team A, who said that comment, is winning, and then the Planetkey guys win like 28 out of the next 30 rounds and just wreck the whole game. It's like, I think I've seen this before. Country you from? Germany? Really? And then, I could fill in the blanks basically at that point.
Yeah, let's try and summarize it because there's actually a lot going on here. Now, the group of players that were in Planetkey, which includes Robson, Aiken, Ammo, Zorl, Sicken. They used a guy called Light as a stand-in, not necessarily relevant to this story. But basically, they were in this tournament. They were accused of cheating. They had their demos reviewed. Nobody could find a smoking gun per se in terms of cheating, although in my opinion, having watched some of the dodgier bits, if you like, it's not a good look. But of course, the admins can't ban on that. We've just talked about how wrong it would be to do that earlier in this broadcast. So certainly I think when you're going to ban somebody in a way that could have repercussions for their career, you do need to be sure. And the admins didn't feel 100% confident based on what they could see. So where they then end up getting disqualified from this tournament, the Rising Stars of Europe, run by E-Frag. What gets them disqualified is CSGO Lounge investigate. Big shout out to Courtney Honey Timpson again, who's the guy who investigates all of these things. And they found that the players had placed sizable bets on themselves going into that tournament. So,
I mean, how dumb do you have to be?
Well, here's the thing, though. These guys have been getting away with all sorts of shit for a long fucking period of time. But yeah, so they place these sizable bets on themselves, which suggests to me, you know, hey, either I'm super confident of a win, or I know I'm going to win because I'm cheating my balls off, right? Either way, Valve have made their stance on that clear. They don't want pros, even casters or whatever, being involved in fucking betting in games. It's something you have to sacrifice if you want to be a pro. Simple as that. Plenty of other ways to get your skins. Fans will give them to you, right? Websites will give them to you. You just got to fucking suck it up and not bet, basically. But here's the problem. So if you go back to the start of 2015, Robson and Ammo were involved in a betting scandal with My Revenge. And, of course, Zol, Aiken were on that team as well. Prior to that, and it was they ended up getting dismissed from the organization over that. Then there was the Killerfish lineup with Robson and Ammo. They got banned from CSGO Lounge due to suspicious betting patterns. They came out publicly and said we're innocent, and the ban was lifted by CSGO Lounge, but only after those two players left the lineup. Then there was the UX gaming lineup, which recently made the front page of Reddit when everyone saw that there was obvious cheating going on in that one. I would say more obvious than this one, where Sicken, Aiken, and Jin, this other member of the party that crops up, was involved again. And they got released from the UX gaming lineup prior to that as well. And on top of that, what people forget is Planetkey had Cly, CLY, who was like considered a very good player. He was in their team when he got VAC banned. And they stood by that player. So you've got this very long checkered history with this group of players. And once again, back in the limelight for all the wrong reasons. Now, I don't want to fucking say no smoke without fire, because a lot of the times that can be a retarded mentality that leads to witch hunting. But if these guys are innocent, then they're as unlucky as that motherfucker in making a murderer.
I mean, it does sit like how many times before? Like, this is where, come on, Valve, what more do you need to look into some of these fucking cases? Like, do they need to write a blog? If I had cheated, here's what I would have done.
OJ Sicken. All right, that one fell a bit flat.
Not as good in the game, of course, as Jay was.
Yeah. But yeah, like, so, I mean, come on, Duncan, again, Dr. Thorin, fix this.
I mean, this is where you need people who can, like, for example, if you haven't got any proof, yeah, they have to play in future competitions. But now you need software that detects what's going on. You need people in the community to come forwards if they've got some sort of proof. You need to do something about it, because the betting patterns alone is part of the suspicious thing to me, not just the cheating. Because this is almost like flagrant, like that they could be cheating and betting on themselves. Like, come on, Valve, what more do you fucking want? Literally, that's your two favorite things, right? People who bet on shit they shouldn't. And also, aren't you supposed to never bet on anything if you're a fucking pro player? Wasn't that some rule?
Yeah.
But that's okay, is it, Valve?
So, I mean, look, the way I look at it is this, mate.
Valve's just off eating a fucking 6-person trifle or all that 226 million, aren't they?
Arctic roll.
Yeah.
For seconds.
They're out of control.
They are, man. They're straight ball of trifle everywhere. But here's what I believe, right? And obviously, I talk to a lot of players. I follow cases like this, and you know, I've tried to focus in other areas because I don't like investing large amounts of my time into stuff like this. But let's be fucking real. I think it's fairly obvious right now that despite the iBuy power ban might have shook the upper echelons of the CS scene to its core. And people are now like, holy shit, I could lose all of this if I get caught. I think there's like a bunch of fucking third-tier players, third-tier scrubs who know they're never going to get a chance at the big time, just doing what they can to dry hump the fucking CSGO dream like one last time, just to get some fucking money, some fucking Skrilla together by betting on games, cheating in games, doing whatever they can until eventually someone's going to have to come in and shut them the fuck down. And these guys, they're not the only people doing this. There's other examples out there. People know who they are. It's, you know, and it's sad that once again, it's going to have to be some cunt like me who rolls up their fucking sleeves and goes through all the fucking evidence again, or CSGO Lounge themselves have to go through all the betting patterns just so we can find out like how deep the fucking rabbit hole goes when the people who've got the fucking easiest job in the world to find out whether someone's fixing a game and if they're getting skins illegally and blah, 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 they're going to sit on the sidelines.
So here's a question for you, Rich.
Yeah.
Germany has famously always had lots and lots of esports journalists. Famously, they've had their own websites. Like currently, they have like the 99 Damage one. They have 27 and 1. They used to have Read More. What were the other German ones that they had? There was a bunch. There was always 2 or 3 in Germany. So Germany has tons of esports journalists. Where are all the German esports journalists looking into this whole thing and cracking the whole case? They speak German. That's one of the things that really pisses me off about cretins who talk about people like me and you at esports. They make out as though like we shouldn't get attention because we're like toxic on Twitter and blah, blah. Who the fuck else is doing these things? Who's doing the videos about these topics? Who's giving their opinion? No one. Everyone else is just sat around like, oh, I'm not going to risk myself to do something that should be done because I think it's ethically the right. They're not doing shit, man. Everyone else is sat on the sidelines watching the fucking game.
Yeah, and this is the problem, isn't it? You know, like what I'm worried about is, you know, if me and you one day do ascend into the pantheon of esports gods and do what everyone else does, and that's basically, you know, paid our dues now, time to make real Skrilla, put on a fucking suit, and obviously quit our day jobs. Who else is you're right? Who else is drawing attention to this shit?
It's ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah, it's fucked up. And you would imagine a domestic scene would at least want to police themselves. You know, because look, the German scene is on its fucking knees right now. It's a travesty what the German scene has become in Counterstrike Source and indeed in 1.6, but especially in Counterstrike Source. The German EPS was like Serie A in the fucking 90s.
Yeah. It was one of the best in 1.6 at one point in time. A domestic league is fantastic. Oh, and by the way, just to throw out a shot, Rich, here's another one for you. So we know how incredibly self-entitled and wonderful the people at Vakam think they are. Where were you guys when Foxio was throwing matches? Where were you guys when Kaylee was cheating? Where were you guys when all these things supposedly behind the scenes were known and people were wondering, where were you guys with it all? You're so incredibly entitled now. You've done fuck all in your entire scene in all of CSGO. Congrats. What have you done? Write an article about very games. Where wicked. Yeah, well done.
Well, I think it's quite telling that when the story about the great fucking French Revolution came about and the swaps between Titan and Envious, it wasn't Vakam that broke that story, despite having staff on, that are personal friends to all of these players. It was me. Of course, it was me. Right. And I even made that point at the time. The idea that a non-domestic writer should get a fucking story like that out before you do, that just shows how low your fucking standards are, It's like, it's shocking. I think they came back with like, oh, but it was posted on our forums first. Yeah, brilliant, mate. I'll take that one. Take that fucking journalistic credit there, right? Like, I got this from a forum. It was posted on our website first by a user. Brilliant. Fucking Pulitzer fucking it's waiting for you, mate. It's so.
To be fair, that was the story of the year on Vakam.
Yeah, true. But yeah, it's retarded. But anyway, so I think the fucking we'll wait and see how this pans out. But I think somebody's gonna have to fucking step up, because I see a lot of these names, especially in Germany, but other countries as well, some Eastern European countries, where these names keep coming up time and time again with dubious games, match fixes, throwing, cheating. And because they're so low down the food chain, you can't generate any outrage from the community. Not in the same way you could when it was the favorite sons of North America. So someone's got to give, man, because it's not fair. It's not fair. Like if the whole point of nailing those players from NA to the Cross was to fucking prevent people from doing it again, I think we've actually got a problem in the lower tiers. I think it's still going on in Europe, especially. So hopefully, the community are going to get upset about it. A journalist somewhere is going to get upset about it, and we're actually going to force Valve's hand and get these fuckers banned. Because there's no doubt in my mind, there's too much evidence here. These fuckers are dirty. I'll just say it right now. There's no way that they have been in like 4 different fucking teams that have all been accused of match fixing and cheating, and it be a coincidence. It just doesn't happen. CSGO Lounge wouldn't have removed their games without a very strong feeling and of evidence, because it's bad for their business. The more games, the better, right? It just makes no sense. So yeah, fuck it, fuck them. Probably end the show on that note, I reckon, Duncan. But I think before we go, we should do one of those sick Alphadraft plugs that we like to do.
Yeah,
so,
okay.
Have you got anything up your sleeve?
If I was to compare Alphadraft to a food, it would be a 6-person trifle. So if you want to take part in the most decadent of party foods, then that would be sort of like playing at Alphadraft. And if you can't play at Alphadraft, if you go there and it says it's restricted in your country, then I feel like you should probably get involved in some sort of social change, possibly a violent revolution. Alphadraft, it's a way of life.
Excellent. So all that remains to be said is thanks you for coming on the show, Duncan, as always. You got anything lined up? Any events?
I haven't got any events for a while now. I've got a little bit of time off, but I've got a whole bunch of content still coming this week. Like I've got a reflections with a pretty well-known player coming in the next day or two.
Can you give us a clue who the player might be?
I'll just tell you, it's already done. So it's NBK.
Oh, nice.
That's pretty interesting. I've got a video about Renegades I'm working on. Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff for later this week, basically, in CSGO.
Okay. Excellent. I'm going to release, I think today, hopefully, the remaining Gonzo Awards. They should be out soon. Which is it. I've gone ham in that.
Okay.
So, like, I know people might find that hard to believe, but I've the Raheem things in there. I've gone after eSports Express in a big way.
Oh, by the way, Rich, I've got...
Yeah.
Nah, never mind, actually. This is something we could save for another. It's not really CSGO related, so we'll save this for another time.
All right, okay.
End of the show.
Nice little prick tease there. Pretty good. and of course, I'm going to release that ESL story shortly afterwards as well. But yeah, we'll get into that now off air. Me and Duncan will do our little private stuff. To all you people, thanks a lot for watching. Thanks to Alphadraft. Be sure to support them. They let us do the show we want to do, where there are no rules. And Duncan always finds a way to bring up Hitler for some reason. And I wish he wouldn't. But there you go. So yeah, we'll be back next week. Same time, same place. Until then, may all your drafts be alpha. Peace.